Greetings, fellow moviegoers, and welcome to Movie Central, the place to talk about movies, TV shows based on movies, toys based on movies, games based on movies, and rides based on movies. I'm your host, Mr. CCS, and this is my pet gorilla, George. Welcome to Truth and Justice, a two-part review of one of DC Animated's best outings. Before we get started on why this show is so awesome, let's discuss the weird and interesting history of the Justice League and how this show came to be. In March of 1960, the first ever issue featuring the League was The Brave and the Bold, issue 28. In the comic, the League took down an entity known as Star the Conqueror, with the team consisting of Aquaman, King of the Seas, J'onn J'onzz, the shape-shifting Martian Manhunter, Green Lantern, Galactic Law Enforcement Officer, The Flash, the fastest man alive, Wonder Woman, Amazon Princess of Themyscira, the Dark Knight Detective Batman, and the Man of Steel Superman. Since then, they've been adapted and adopted into later forms of comics by Grant Morrison, Jeff Johns, and Darwyn Cooke, and a few others. As far as TV adaptations go, the Justice League had quite a bit of stuff. The first adaptation came in 1967 during the Superman Aquaman Hour, with a team consisting of Superman, Green Lantern, Hawkman, The Flash, Aquaman, and the Atom. Batman wasn't present, most likely due to the live-action TV show at the time. However, the longest-running TV series featuring the League was The Super Friends and its many incarnations. There, the League would face many cartoony situations, several villains from the comics, and gain new members over time. Sadly, this is the worst introduction to these characters, much like how Teen Titans Go is today for modern audiences, and like how Superhero Squad and Spidey and His Amazing Friends are awful introductions to Marvel characters. Super Friends got a lot of attention, even a live-action TV special that looks absolutely awful. But it doesn't matter because a good Justice League adaptation was on the horizon. As a matter of fact, considering that Superman the animated series introduced The Flash, Aquaman, and Green Lantern, a supposed fourth season of the show was rumored, with an episode setting up Wonder Woman, with the finale giving us a league consisting of Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, The Flash, Aquaman, and Green Lantern. Unfortunately, Superman didn't get picked up for a fourth season. That doesn't mean that Bruce Timm and his team gave up on making a Justice League show, as in 2000, an animated showcase version of the Justice League was given to Cartoon Network, who greenlit the show for a 2001 release. And you better believe that it was well received. Considering the fact that the Justice League has a huge reputation, that is great nowadays. Does this show still hold up 22 years later? You're going to find out today, as we're looking at the first two seasons of Justice League. The world is threatened by many serious threats. Forces of supervillains, alien invasions, magical anomalies, and time paradoxes. And just when all hope is lost, one team answers the call for help. One union, one group, one Justice League. If you know me, you know I love superhero teams. Hell, The Avengers is my all-time favorite film. So needless to say, seeing a team of superheroes team up to battle the threats that no single hero can stand against alone was absolutely perfect. As a matter of fact, I'm going as far to say that this is the best version of the Justice League of all time. That's right. Better than even the comics, animated films, and especially live action. But why? What makes this animated league better than the other adaptations of the league? Well, let's discuss the main aspects of the show, including the best episodes, to see why this is the case, starting with the characters. It's a little weird to say, but the league isn't comic accurate in the show, or at least the roster isn't. As I stated earlier, the original roster consisted of Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Barry Allen's Flash, Aquaman, Martian Manhunter, and Hal Jordan's Green Lantern. The show replaced Jordan's Green Lantern with Jon Stewart, Aquaman with Hawkgirl, and Barry Allen with Wally West. The reason why was that the team needed some diversity, like a younger Flash, a black man, and another woman. Normally, I would be against this, but the characters overall were fun to read and watch in adaptations, so of course, this roster is very fun. So let's talk about the main 7 characters and discuss what makes them great characters. Hawkgirl and Green Lantern, voiced by Maria Canals Barrera and Phil LaMarr. Now, initially, these characters were just the female and race bent versions of more popular characters at the time, Hawkman and Hal Jordan's Green Lantern. However, with Bruce Timm backing the show, we of course have fleshed out characters. Hawkgirl was the hothead of the group, making wrong decisions at the wrong time, much like Raphael of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Her being this more fleshed out made her much more compelling of a character and a worthy addition to the Justice League. John Stewart was the stern soldier type. A former Marine, he was more serious of a character compared to Hal, who was more light-hearted. John instantly became my favorite Green Lantern in the DC universe, and there is no doubt in my mind that he will be one of the best characters if adapted to live action. Please, James Gunn? You might be wondering why I grouped these two together. It's a pretty simple answer, actually. The writers put in a love story for these two. Usually, I don't like this sort of forced love drama, but in this case, it felt perfectly natural, and I really enjoyed it. I would say it's some of the best writing in the show, and they are one of the best couples in any cartoon. Yeah, I went that far. Martian Manhunter, voiced by Carl Lumbly. The Martian Manhunter was never one of my favorite DC characters, but I love this character in the series. Jean is easily one of my favorite characters in the DC animated universe. The calm and collected delivery Carl Lumbly gives the character is what I easily imagine Jean sounding in the comics. It's also important to note that Jean takes on the mentor role in the series, seeing as how he's over 500 years old. Carl is obviously going to be my definitive choice for the voice of Jean, as he has done it since 2001 and has returned for both the animated film Justice League Doom and Injustice. Well done, Bruce Timm, for bringing yet another character that I wasn't a huge fan of and making me like him. The Flash, voiced by Michael Rosenbaum. For those of you who don't know, Michael Rosenbaum played Lex Luthor on Smallville at the same time, so he was playing a DC hero and DC villain at the same time. Also, the choice they made to go with Wally West as the main universe Flash is an okay choice on my part. True, Barry Allen is my definitive Flash easily, but Wally is more of a down-to-earth and chill Flash. Heck, he was the main Flash in the post-crisis continuity for a few years, so it makes sense why he was here. Seeing a more laid-back personality for the character is something I'm not too used to, but the Flash is one of my favorite characters on this show because of how fluid his personality is. He grounds the team and protects them from going dark, something expressed in a very great episode of the show, which I'll get to in a minute. The Flash is one of the best additions to this show and one of the best DC animated universe characters ever, bar none. Wonder Woman, voiced by Susan Eisenberg. Wonder Woman, as I said, was originally going to appear in Superman the Animated Series, but aspects of a debut episode were present here. Her origin was showcased in the premiere episode, and an event with Felix Faust and Hades showcased the possible cartoon crossover between her and Superman. So she was set up here and done extremely well for sure. Would I like to see an animated series involving Wonder Woman? Sure, but her incorporation into this one and her whole character arc was really well done. And I don't think I need to see an animated show with her as the lead, because her being in this show was a big treat and easily one of my favorite parts of this series. Great job once again to Bruce Timm. Superman, voiced by George Newbern. Unfortunately, Tim Daly was unable to voice Superman in the series due to being wrapped up in other projects. George Newbern took his place, and he was great, but I still think Tim Daly is better. George still delivers the right aspects of the character expected from Superman. Only this time he has the idea of being a leader and still has a ton of drama based around his last encounter with Darkseid in Superman the Animated Series. Now, I am aware that the age lines on his face in the first season bothered many, and so did him being thrown around like a rag doll and being weak sauce, but it was a mistake that they fixed up in the later seasons of the show. Superman is still one of the best DCAU characters and one of the best characters on this show. only second to one after one other character. And you know who that character is. Batman, voiced by Kevin Conroy. Ah, the chairman of the board, and the one who started this universe. Just by being on a team with 6 other heroes with different personalities, Batman is still Batman, the dark, brooding detective we all know and love. The new suit they give him is also absolutely cool, mixing the original, the new Batman adventures, and even the Batman Beyond suits is awesome, and one of the best character upgrades given. It's also important to note that some of Bat's best moments came from the series, such as beating up the Joker after breaking free from a contraption, beating Destiny by drinking coffee and turning on a goofy song in the Batmobile, and revealing the Flash and Superman's identities to the entire Justice League during the finale. So, Batman, the best character in the DCAU, is still the best part of these shows, and my favorite adaptation of the character brought to the screen today. There are some other characters that are recurring that are worth mentioning, like Lex Luthor, the Joker, Deadshot, Gorilla Grodd, Aquaman, Dr. Fate, Alfred, Vandal Savage, Metamorpho, the Green Lantern Corps members, and a few others. Easily, this was the DC series with the most characters incorporated into the narrative, beaten out by Unlimited, the next 3 seasons, Young Justice, Teen Titans Go, and even Justice League Action. But this series that we are talking about has some of the most well incorporated characters to this day, and there is nothing that can change that, even if the League went unlimited in season 3. Now, before we get to the individual seasons, we have to talk about the animation in the series. It takes the style that we all knew for the past 10 years and made it look its absolute greatest. The colors are all equally matched, the movements are much more fluid, the backgrounds are beautiful, and it feels so fresh and new. And I give all of that credit to the animation department and Bruce Timm, who gave us the wonderful style. As for the music, we have less of an orchestral score this time around, but we get an epic sounding score at some points. The main theme gives off the impression of gods, which is what the Justice League is representative of. Alright, now it's time to talk about the 2 seasons and discuss which episodes you should watch. Now, there are episodes you can skip in this season. Skip Fury. It was mediocre. Skip War World. It's going to have a much better adaptation come this year with an animated film. Now, here are the episodes I can wholeheartedly recommend. Secret Origins. The definitive Justice League origin in which the League battles the White Martians. It's very action-packed, well-written, and a ton of fun. Another recommendation I have is The Enemy Below, which is a template I would use for an Aquaman film, and made Aquaman a very compelling character. I would also recommend Paradise Lost if you really want a great Wonder Woman story, and one with a very fun final battle with the army of the underworld led by Hades versus the Justice League. Then there's Legends, in which the League meets the 1950s superhero team known as the Justice Guild, manipulated by the Misfits. It's a very original idea, and one that is fleshed out extremely well. Next, there's Injustice for All, in which Lex Luthor assembles a team of villains to take out the League. Watch it for the great moment with Batman and Joker, and a jab at the Wonder Twins. That cracks me up every time. And finally, there's The Savage Time, which is 3 episodes showcasing Vandal Savage going back in time to replace a certain leader of a certain German army and take over the world. It's the perfect finale for the first season because this was the first big step into a larger world, nay, multiverse. So season 1 was a good start, but it stands as the weakest season of the show, easily. I give it a 9 out of 10. The difference between season 1 and this season is that this season just so happens to be the DC Animated Universe's second best season. Next to Batman Season 1, of course. I cannot stress enough how much I loved the second season of Justice League, and I can wholeheartedly recommend every single episode, but I'll give you the best and notable ones. First up, we have Twilight. And that is where the League battles Brainiac, and Darkseid and Superman's drama with Darkseid is absolutely well written. We can assume that Supes is still angry with Darkseid after the events of Apocalypse Now, and especially Legacy. This was a welcome return to the big bad of this universe. Then there's a better world. An alternate universe in which Lex Luthor killed the Flash, leading Superman killing Lex, and the Justice League becoming the Justice Lords. We get a cameo from Doomsday, and it was really awesome to see Arkham Asylum where the villains were reformed, mainly Joker, Two-Face, and Poison Ivy. That episode is definitely a must-watch. Next up, we have Secret Society, another great villain team-up episode featuring Gorilla Grodd. I love the whole teamwork aspect in this episode, especially after the League splits and reforms at the end. We also have Hereafter, an episode where Superman is transported into another dimension and the League has to learn how to work without him and try to fill the void he had left. And of course, you can't mention Season 2 without mentioning Wild Cards, featuring Joker and Harley Quinn taking over Vegas, utilizing the Royal Flush Gang, who were voiced by the actors who voiced the Teen Titans. This is also the episode where John and Shayera get together. And of course, we have the 3-part finale, Star-Crossed, which is absolutely one of my favorite episodes of the entire DC animated universe, focusing on Shayera's past on Thanagar with a man she was betrothed to. Easily a great episode and one of the best in the entire series. Hell, it's one of my favorite episodes, period. As a whole, Season 2 is excellent, up there with one of my favorite seasons in any TV show. Overall, I have to give this season a 10 out of 10, a perfect season that is damn near my favorite season in the entire DCAU. As a whole, the first 2 seasons of Justice League were a great start. Sure, Season 1 had its ups and downs, but Season 2 improves on that and then some. And the first 2 seasons as a whole get a 9.5 out of 10. If you think that I'm done with the Justice League, oh, just you wait. Next week, we look at the next 3 seasons of the show, which included a rebranding and a new style. With that said, my name is Mr. CCS, this is Movie Central, and that, my friends, is a wrap. See you next week.